Good morning and welcome to Morning Movie News, where the first two stories of the day are about navigating scandal. Yes, there's been a lot of scandal in the headlines this month, and an inordinate amount from very big scandals like Nate Parker's to developing scandals that might get quite big as well, like Ryan Lochte. But what we're going to discuss today is Jared Leto coming out against Warner Brothers and Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp, because both Leto and Heard have managed to navigate their PR disasters with impressive skill and have come out on the other side, I think, actually for the better. All right, so the first story is the huge headline yesterday that Jared Leto is going to co-star in Blade Runner 2. That is a huge coup for that movie because, of course, they're going to capitalize on his Joker fandom, because I would almost, 100% guarantee he's playing a replicant, which is a perfect role for him. And in fact, this is really not so great for Warner Brothers because it's going to potentially dilute his Joker for them. Maybe take the fandom that Warner Brothers helped him develop with their amazing ad campaign for Suicide Squad and to some amazing film, and then take it and hand it to Blade Runner 2. Blade Runner 2, this makes Blade Runner 2, though, suddenly a major box office contender. But the funny thing is that this also sucks for everybody else who's in Blade Runner 2. Harrison Ford, Ryan Gosling, Robin Wright, because Jared Leto is going to just suck all the attention out of that movie. But I think that one of the reasons he probably was interested in doing this is because Denis Villeneuve, the director there, who did, of course, Prisoners, Sicario, the upcoming Arrival. I think that he and Jared Leto are going to get along really well. And, of course, Jared Leto's been very vocal about Suicide Squad not turning out the way it was promised it would turn out. And so, they say, I guess a better movie role is the best revenge. So I'm very, very impressed with Jared Leto's ability to come out the other side with an amazing rebound project. And I think that he's going to be in this movie, and so is Mackenzie Davis, although her name has been loosely rumored with the role of Domino in Deadpool 2, but I don't know how she could take on that role or why they would want her if she was going to be in Blade Runner 2. I would guess also as a replicant. When you think of the original Blade Runner and the Rutger Hauer and Daryl Hannah characters, I think that Jared Leto and Mackenzie Davis are actually pretty good replacements. Now, of course, they wouldn't be playing the same characters. They could to some degree, because these are, replicants. They could be remade so many different times by Wayland. I think, that Wayland is, we'll talk about the shared universe in just a minute, but I think it's Tyrell in Blade Runner 2. I was looking up all these connections this morning, and they've all gelled together in my mind. But the Tyrell Corporation could, of course, just crank out some more Rutger Hauers and Daryl Hannahs, or the next generations that are slightly tweaked to look like Jared Leto and Mackenzie Davis. But Rutger Hauer, of course, was playing a military replicant, while Daryl Hannah was playing a military replicant, but for pleasure purposes. So I think this is going to be fascinating, and it also means, because it's been rumored that Michael Fassbender's David in Prometheus not only ties into the Alien franchise, but into Blade Runner. Well, Prometheus has now been revealed to definitely be part of the Alien universe, but the fact that they would all be in the same universe means that we could eventually get some kind of movie where Jared Leto and Michael Fassbender play replicants, or robots, androids together, and that would be amazing. Just like Michael Fassbender, took over the Prometheus film, rightfully so. I think that Jared Leto is going to really dominate the Blade Runner 2 sequel, and I think it's going to make Blade Runner 2, again, suddenly a very strong box office contender because of all the new fans that Jared Leto has earned as the Joker. But that's just hilarious. It's so good. It's such a perfect role. It's good for everyone. It's good for David. It's good for Denis Villeneuve, and it's good for Jared Leto. But it's good for the studio behind Blade Runner 2. But it's not good for Warner Brothers, and it's not good for anybody else in Blade Runner 2, and certainly also not for David Ayer. That's just hilarious. I love it so much. But congrats to Jared Leto. I'm very impressed with his rebound ability, or at least his management team's ability to rebound. Then next, Amber Heard, of course, really embroiled in controversy. A lot of very serious claims against Johnny Depp. A lot of Johnny Depp's friends came out and said that she orchestrated it, and a lot of it was manufactured. And when there were problems, she had egged Johnny Depp on. She'd baited him, But of course, many people rightfully said that you have to take any such allegations very seriously. So they've settled. They were married for just about 15 months, I believe. She actually just got $7 million, which I find very surprising. That's such a small amount of money, considering how much money Johnny Depp has, that I would think that if she really did have anything damning, any damning evidence against him, she would have been able to get much more. And if she doesn't have any damning evidence, so that's why she only got $7 million, I don't know why Johnny Depp would pay her anything after what she put him through. But maybe they just want this to go away. Everybody does. But speaking of going away, Amber Heard has decided to give away all $7 million, her entire divorce settlement, to charity. A lot of headlines there, and you can say whatever you want about what her motivations might be, but I think at the end of the day, she's really cleared her plate of this scandal, and I think it's well played. And I think if I were Warner Brothers, I would feel very good about her continuing on as Mira, and not only in the Aquaman movie, but potentially in Justice League movies going forward as the other female member. I don't know how I'd feel about her personally. I feel there's probably some truth to both her and Depp's stories. But I would feel from a business perspective that she's someone I could feel comfortable having in the film and that she wouldn't bring it down. Because I could always point to the charity thing, and I think that's definitely going to just put the whole scandal to bed. So well played, Amber Heard and or Amber Heard's management team. That was a very smart move. And as for giving away $7 million, she of course stands to earn much more if she's successful in the DC movies. All right, so that's the second story of the day. Now, the third story of the day is a story that actually got a lot of traction when it was announced by Deadline, I think on Tuesday, and that's that Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly are reteaming after very successful past partnerships, Talladega Nights and Step Brothers, to make a Sherlock Holmes movie. Sherlock Holmes, of course, is so popular these days. It's all driven by the BBC show with Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman. But of course, CBS has their Johnny Lee Miller, Lucy Liu show, and then Warner Brothers has their Sherlock Holmes movie with Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law. So there's been a lot of, Sherlock Holmes has been able to have a lot of different incarnations existing simultaneously in the entertainment space, so I guess it could handle one more. Now, this was originally going to be a film that starred Sacha Baron Cohen and Will Ferrell, when my guess would be Sacha Baron Cohen in that case would have been Holmes. I think that sounds pretty darn good, but I think that Ferrell and John C. Reilly is perhaps a little bit more commercially viable. But anyway, Sacha Baron Cohen is no longer involved in the project, and Will Ferrell has been promoted to play Sherlock Holmes, and John C. Reilly will play, of course, Watson. This is written by Ethan Cohen, who wrote and directed Get Hard, which was a very good idea, but I thought poorly executed with Kevin Hart. But he's also a screenwriter on Tropic Thunder, very smart movie, although I'm sure a lot of that is Ben Stiller, who's a very smart comedian, sometimes. And then also, of course, Ethan Cohen is well known for teaming up with Mike Judge and working on the oddly prophetic Idiocracy film. But anyway, this is also his, and he's going to write and direct. Now, I think this could do pretty well. I think it's scheduled to come out for holiday 2017. I think that if it's just even moderately well done, it should make a lot of money, because case in point, Will Ferrell's last comedy, which came out for the holiday season, Daddy's Home, made $240 million worldwide. That is amazing. That's actually about $100 million more than both Talladega Nights and Step Brothers. So, Mark Wahlberg was a part of that equation. But still, I think that in lieu of Mark Wahlberg, you could have, the brand recognition of Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. But I think it sounds pretty good. And as long as it's, I think, again, they don't have to aim too high here. If they just are moderately able to execute this, I think they could make potentially quite a bit of money. I wonder if it's a modern or period piece. If it's a period piece during the holiday season and a comedy, they're going to definitely make a lot of money. So I'll be curious to see how this comes together, but it's a good project, I think. All right, so those are the three stories of the day. Now, for the viewer question, this is a great viewer question. This also has to do with Jared Leto. And this is from Thorn. And Thorn says, "Hi, Grace. I'm a new fan from Belgium." Oh, hello, Thorn. Hello in Belgium. Greetings. You have amazing chocolate. Newhouse chocolate. It's so good. But Thorn says, "I really enjoy watching your videos. Keep up the good work. I have a question about the involvement of an actor in a movie behind the scenes, because now at the controversy around Jared Leto not liking his movie, I was wondering how much does an actor have to say about production in the cutting room, for example, and does it depend on your star power? Well, that's a great question, Thorne, and it's not so much the star power, but the contract that the talent signs. Now, some stars are very big, and they can demand, they can demand approval of the cut, they can demand approval of the talent that's hired, etc. So that's something that can sometimes be requested in a contract. You, of course, have to be a very big star, and sometimes even then you don't get it. I think a good recent example is that Melissa McCarthy was complaining about the first Ghostbusters trailer and said, but I'm not a producer on this movie, so I can't do anything about it. And she obviously, didn't sign on for a producer on the film, either because it wasn't offered to her or because she trusted Paul Feig. Mistake! But anyway, speaking of what Melissa McCarthy said, the best way for an actor to make sure that they have some say on how a movie is put together beyond, the work they do on set is that they're a producer. That's really the best thing to do. And that's why so often you'll see big stars are producers or executive producers on their own films. Or their production company is, and they have someone who is looking out for their best interests as a producer. So they can just go, okay, go tell them not to do this, and that's what happens. So that way, if you're a producer, you have to sign off on the poster, the trailers, the cuts, etc. It's the best way to ensure that you look good in your movie. Now, of course, you can do like a power move, like Robert Downey Jr., of course, is extremely powerful at the MCU. Maybe not today as much as he once was. But, of course, when you're in a franchise, you don't want to upset your actor because you worry they might not come back, right? But I think that Warner Brothers had bigger concerns with Suicide Squad than whether or not Jared Leto was happy, to be perfectly honest. Although, maybe now they should have worried a little bit more about that with the Blade Runner 2 story. But that's what I think the situation is. I think that, they want to make their talent happy. The best way to make sure, though, that you will be happy is to either have it written into your contract. I think Will Smith often has it written into his contract. Or you become a producer on the film, and therefore you definitely get to have some say as to how it comes together. But for the most part, if actors don't do those steps, they're just, another raw material for the filmmakers to utilize as they see fit. And for instance, you might not be aware of this, but even with covers for magazines, actors have no say in which photo is ultimately chosen to go into the magazine and what that magazine does with it in terms of retouching, Photoshop, etc. So that's just an interesting thing, and that's why I think actors sometimes stress out so much because they don't have a lot of control over their publicity. All right, so that's today's morning movie news. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please write down below, I think, today's top 3 stories and that viewer question, anything you'd like to see covered on Monday, and any questions that you might have. Thanks for watching. Bye.